Hello, people watching. We've got Mars on screen during Mars opposition. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it other than it's Mars and it's on the screen. Not a whole lot to talk about, but there it is. I should actually put a comment on here. Comments and questions welcome. I should probably spell it correctly as well. So yeah, I'll just get started here. I'm just going to do some imaging and we will chat. You can ask me anything you want about what's going on here. So, there we go. In there. But this is Mars, this is the red filter. So everything you're gonna see, here tonight is gonna be in monochrome, black and white. And because that's the kind of camera I have, but we're gonna be looking at it in different wavelengths and different colors with different filters. So we're basically gonna go through the entire visible spectrum. And then also the near infrared at 742 nanometers. And I'm going to be doing some imaging, and then at the end, so tomorrow, what I will do is I'm actually going to pre-process all the video data because it's huge, and post that for download, so everybody can process it. I think I've got everything kind of set up now. Yes, okay. I can see the comments, I can see what's going on. For some reason, that's not working, but that's okay. All right. There we go. Okay, so welcome to my Mars opposition night live stream. I've got a couple of things set up that I need to. There it is. That's what I wanted to show. So we've got the telescope in view. That's the telescope now. Hello. So we've got, this is the telescope that's in view now. This is what we're using. I'm going to attempt to focus it because it's not quite perfect. That's okay. Try and get that. There we go. Into focus. Hello, hello. Yes, and announce yourselves in the comments. Let me know, where you're from, where you're watching from. It's cool to know. I like to find that out. So this is Mars right now, live through that telescope on the right. And let's see, we're currently looking at the red red filter. Seeing conditions are not as good as I was hoping they would be, but that's one thing that I have no control over, so we just kind of have to deal with what we've got. and try and focus it as things go. And it just looks like it's not gonna be too stable, but that's okay. We actually see some decent detail that I'm not gonna complain about too much. Cool. Sammy from Bahrain, nice to see you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's interesting. Simon from a very cloudy UK, yeah. So what's new? It's basically the UK, right? Although I've seen some really good images from you people in the UK this year, so there must be some decent nights. Got some coffee going here. Soraya. Siyahara. Sorry, there we go. Nice to see you. I remember you from before. Oh man, all kinds of tips. We got a question already. Any tips to get the sharpest results in planetary astrophotography? There are quite a bit of things that have to go right in order to get sharp planets, sharp results in planetary astrophotography. One of those things is the atmosphere has to play along with something that you have absolutely no control over. If there's a lot of turbulence and air movement, I'm going to make it bigger. If there's a lot of air movement in the atmosphere, it's not going to lend itself at all to like what you see here. This is pretty poor, not great, but it's what we've got to work with, so we can't really do much about it. So the atmosphere has to play along. Focus obviously is another big one where you've got to really try hard to get focus dialed, which is really tough. So and then telescope collimation is huge also. So basically your optics on your telescope have to be aligned very well. So that's called collimation, and that's one of the things that you really have to do and make sure that it's good. Let's see, other sharp results tips. Collimation, focus, and atmosphere. Those are the big ones. That's basically it, to be honest, is what you can, that's what you have to do. So once you get those things kind of sorted out with your equipment, and you have a good night to shoot, then your results will be sharp. That's kind of it. So focus, telescope collimation and alignment, and then the atmosphere. Let's see. Hello from Germany. Nice to see you. You can see a bright point in the sky. Yeah, that would probably be Mars. It's going to be one of the brightest things. Jupiter is also still up. At least it is here in the south. I don't know about in the northern hemisphere. Yeah, so Mars will be there. Hey Marlon, how you doing, Marlon? Nice to see you again. Hope everything is okay with you. Sammy is asking, what is gain and exposure? Let me get this. I'm actually going to start an acquisition sequence with this. Yeah, so we're going to do RGB. We're going to do color, but it'll still look black and white because we're going to switch between red, green, and blue, and capture 90 seconds of each and see how that goes. So now what we need to do is I need to set that up. So I'm only going to record what you see in that yellow box is the only thing that's going to be recorded. So what I see on my side, it's a little bit smaller because I have my pixels set. So 1 pixel on the screen is 1 pixel on the camera, so that helps me focus a little bit better and make sure I have the focus as good as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and start my acquisition. You can see up there in the upper left the countdowns and everything. It's going to automatically switch filters for me and capture the whole time. So you have to let me know, do you want to see Mars big? Do you like it small here? I think it's better when it's big, to be honest, because it's YouTube and I'm not sure how many people are watching on like big screens or little screens. So I'll make it a little bit bigger like that. There we go. So yeah. So that's what I am acquiring now. Let's see, we've got other questions. Oh wow. Yeah, so gain and exposure, that one is, gain is basically, how do I explain gain? Gain is the electronic boost, basically. It's like turning up the amplifier. It's amplification of the signal from the camera sensor. So without going into too much detail, it's basically, gain is the same thing as ISO on a standard camera. So gain and ISO are pretty much the same thing. And then exposure is the amount of time that you are exposing the image on the camera. So the amount of time that you're capturing actual photons and converting them to electronic pixel data that you can then use. So that's what exposure is. It's literally the time. And Siahara says it's very cloudy in Malaysia. Oh, monsoon season. Yeah, that's probably a bad time to shoot. Probably can't do much astrophotography in the monsoon season. Oh man, I'm glad that I can give you some sort of view of Mars during opposition then. Very happy to help. Prima946, how's it? He's a fellow South African here. Nice to see you. Cincinnati, Mark. How's it going, Mark? Davide, how you doing? Everybody, he's there. Yeah, so where is the red color of Mars gone? You won't see any color tonight because I'm shooting with a monochrome camera. So right now what you're actually seeing is the green filter. So this is all the green light that's being reflected off Mars. What I do is I shoot red, I shoot green, I shoot blue, and then I combine those into the proper color channels in post-processing. So that's where the red has gone. It's not red in my camera, only because my camera is a monochrome camera. So this is now blue, and for some reason it's in a different spot. Is it not centered? Maybe that's the problem. Okay, see, this is why we play. All right. So so this is blue, and blue is really kind of boring. There's not a whole lot going on in blue. You basically get that southern pole ice cap in the lower down here. This is the ice cap on the south pole of Mars, and then it's hard to see, but you see these lighter areas on the edges and around here. Those are actually, from what what I know about them is those are ice clouds in the atmosphere of Mars, so that you actually we're seeing surface detail specifically in the red filter, and we're seeing clouds in the blue and maybe a little bit of green, but mostly just the blue. So yeah, I'm not a scientist. I am an astrophotographer. I just take pictures of this stuff and pass it off. So yeah, I don't know if the central part is cloudy or not. Yeah, it's a mono CCD. Yeah. So there might be a little bit there. I'm not sure if that's the only thing blue shows, but I mean, if there's like lighter features on the planet too, it could be, you know, it could be a little bit lighter in the blue as well. So this is back to red now. This is the red filter. So this is what's actually, anything, the brighter it is in red, the redder it's going to be on the color image when I combine those, or when you combine those, because I'm actually going to take all this data, I'm going to pre-process it, I'm going to stack it, and then I'm going to upload it to my website, which there's already a bunch of pre-processed data for you, raw pre-processed data for you to take and practice and do some planetary post-processing. It's already there and ready to go. So I should post a link. Actually, I'll do that. I'll post a link to the website where you can download some data, because I think it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Okay. So I'm going to say questions and comments. Welcome. Go get some free planetary data of Mars and Jupiter on my website. There. Copy and paste that. Oh, sweet. Now I'm going to pin that one. Okay, cool. Now I've got a better. And now we are on, what is this? This is going to be green. Yeah, this is green now. So I've got a little bit of a delay. It switches filters and then it will capture for 90 seconds. So let's see what else. Yes, the white spot. Sriyahara says the white spot is the snow cap, right? Yes, that is the South Pole ice cap of Mars. So yeah, blue is usually, you're going to see clouds are a little bit brighter in the blue, and ice and things like that. So Sammy says, how do I choose my exposure time and gain for my camera on Mars? So basically what I'll do is it's kind of all about the histogram as well. So I'm going to show you my view. This is my view of things on my my control telescope and camera control computer here. And basically what we're seeing over here, you can see the cursor. I'm going to move it around so you can follow it. This is the histogram. I try and keep all three colors, red, green, and blue, of Mars at about somewhere between 80 and 90% on the histogram. So this will tell me what the brightest feature is, and I try and keep it around 80 to 90%. And there's different schools of thought that, you know, what you can do with that, but that's what I try and do. And then what I do is I adjust the exposure. I try and get a shortest possible exposure where my gain on the camera isn't too high, and you can really, you kind of have to wait, and you have to test your own camera, and you have to figure out what works for your gear, because certain cameras can go a lot higher gain than others. For example, my camera, I know I run into some really weird noise if I shoot infrared higher than, say, around 380 gain, and all the cameras are different, so you basically have to just kind of play around and see. But the idea is you want to get the shortest exposure time, so the most frames per second that you can handle with the lowest gain that you can get, because the higher the gain, the more grainy and noisy the image is going to be. So you want a low gain, you want low exposure also, so you can get a high frame rate. And then you also want to make sure your histogram fills up a lot of those pixels. You want those pixels, the brightest pixels, to actually be captured and used. So that's why I shoot for 80 to 90%, just to be a little safe. You gotta have a little breathing room on the right side, on the bright side. So yes, let's see, where are we now? Yes, blue enhances clouds. Yes, that is true. Yeah, again, there's a link pinned on the top of the comments with a link to my website where I have put a bunch of archived pre-processed data. I can't post the videos because they're just too big. They're just too big to download. I mean, if I were to post everything that I shot in a night, it would be about 100 gigabytes of data on a good night. So I've kind of got to pre-process stuff for you, but that's the easy part, and you can read all about it on that website link. I'm going to switch now back to our other views so you can see this a little more fun. Yeah, we're back onto red now, so this is the red filter again. Let's see, so can I, no, don't worry about any, there's no such thing as a dumb question. This stuff is, if you don't do it all the time, you really, I wouldn't expect anybody really to ever know it all anyway. So there's no such thing as a dumb question at all. No such thing as a noob question. It's great to ask, and the only way to learn is to ask. So, let's see, I'm asked to explain what the result is after the post-process. Do I merge the data? Yes. Okay, so what I do is I take the red data, the green data, and the blue data, and I will put those in, I will stack the videos. I'll average all the good frames with software into sharpened images for each color channel. And those are just gray. Those are just black and white. And then there's a plane going through the sky on the all-sky camera on the lower right there. And you take those then, and so a color image, a color digital image is made up of red, green, and blue. And so then that's why we're taking these filters. We are shooting Mars in red, we're shooting it in green, and shooting it in blue, and then I will combine those later in post-processing to make that color image. So you just combine it use Photoshop or whatever. You can use Photoshop, you can use a WinJupos, which is what I often use if I'm going to do something called derotation, which is somewhat complex, and you can use just any image processing app that allows you to do color channels separately. So that's exactly what happens, is you just combine that data into the color. Let's see, Simon asks, are you using fire capture to maintain the telescope position or something else like PhD? No, I am using just polar alignment. So the telescope is pretty well polar aligned, as well as it can be, because my telescope mount is pretty big. So I can show that that this is the telescope now. It's a pretty big telescope on that mount, and it's polar aligned, and so it's automatically moving nicely with the night sky. And in order to keep the planet nice and centered like you see in that in the center of the screen so it doesn't move too much. Fire capture actually has a feature. Let me show that. If I show this, so up here, it's hard to see on this, I know it's small, but up here, this little, it's like a crosshair on a planet. And you click that and it will use these four dots around, these red dots around the planet, tell you where, basically what the software is doing to keep it in the center. So you need to manually move the telescope around, which is kind of what I'm doing with these buttons down here, to move it north and south and east and west. And I help the telescope because it's not perfectly polar aligned. It's pretty good, but it's not perfect. So there's a bit of a drift, usually in the north and the south. And so I just need to kind of push it up a little bit when it drifts. And then fire capture will keep the planet nicely centered on the camera chip so that every frame is perfectly in the middle, and that makes post-processing a lot easier. And that is called auto align. So that's the auto align feature of fire capture, which if you're going to use fire capture, which I heavily recommend, use auto align. It will make your life so much easier. And it's paused now because it's switching filters, going over to back to red now. So yeah. See, I want to know now, is that up here? Somebody needs to look at like a Mars, the ephemerides of Mars right now, and tell me, is that Olympus Mons, or is that something else up here? There's a bright spot, and I know that's where it would be, but I'm not sure if that's where it is. Now I need to look, because I am very curious. I think it is. Yeah, I'm looking at the data from, yes it is. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, okay, now, pretty stoked, because, let's see if we can see that. Oh, we need to have good sharp frames, but there's a bright spot right here. Oh, sorry, right here. If you can see that, every once in a while that'll kind of pop into view where it's just barely good enough to see. And if you can see that bright area, that is Olympus Mons, which is the tallest, biggest mountain in the solar system, in the entire solar system, which is frickin' cool. That we can actually kind of see that live. I wish the skies were a little bit better so we could see it better, but that's about as good as I can give you right now. I'm sorry about that. But if you go to that website that I put a link to the top, one of the lists in the table is Olympus Mons, is Mars with Olympus Mons visible, and so you can kind of see, you know, compare that to what we're looking at now, and that might give you a little bit of an indication, which is nice. So yeah, Olympus Mons. It's cool. I think it's cool. You can kind of see it a little bit. Not really. You can't really see it on green very well. It's just like a slightly lighter reddish color on Mars. So there's like this lighter spot up here, but that's where it'll be. It's much more easier to see on red and also on infrared, which we'll look at a little bit later. We'll look at infrared. So we're looking right now, we're just cycling through. We're cycling through. Oh, thank you, Simon, for checking that. So Simon Bags just checked. It just checked that to verify that is indeed going to be Olympus Mons up in this area. So when you see that brighter spot that's pop in, that's Olympus Mons. Very, very cool. There are clouds near Olympus. Oh boy. Okay, next is the blue filter, so we need to look for clouds next. So yeah, we're looking at the visible light wavelengths now, red, green, and blue. So we're looking at 3 different wavelengths we're cycling through. Currently on green, about to switch to blue. Hope that's going to be decent. Let's see. Okay, so, oh man. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see on blue. Let's see if I need to focus it at all. So I'm adjusting the focus a little bit to try and do something with that. It's just vibrating up there in the atmosphere. It's not great. Okay, that was the wrong direction of focus. Let's try this one. I swear when I tilt my head I can focus better. So the idea with focus and planetary imaging is you have to find kind of the midpoint, because the atmosphere is always moving around and always shaking and a little bit crazy. And so you just basically have to find where, you know, your spot of least bad is and just kind of hover around that point of, you know, the spot of least bad. Oh, you're cloudy in Italy. Ugh. But yeah, so this is blue, and so the lighter areas are the cloudier areas. So there's a little bit of cloud going on. It really shows up in post-processing though. So if you look at the color images of Mars, then you'll see a lot more. It'll be much more obvious, the clouds. So there's the telescope. So you can see where it is in the sky. It's pretty high. If I remember right, it's going to be up to about 60 degrees off the horizon for me. Also have a view. This is my sky right now. Excuse me. So that bright spot in the upper middle, that's Mars in the sky, and the rest of those are just stars, and some hot pixels here and there. But this is my sky right above where my telescope is, right above my backyard. And we'll see if everything, okay. Yeah, so this is the all sky camera. This view changes every 9 seconds. It takes an exposure. We would have just seen the Milky Way setting actually on the right side of the screen, but so that's Mars, is the bright spot there in the sky, and that is Mars. And you can see Olympus Mons just barely right around here. This is where you're looking. So watch this area, and every once in a while you'll be able to make out like a brighter spot. And I'm gonna try to see if I can get this thing to focus a little. Ooh, there we go, a little bit better. How about that? You see it a little bit better. I do on my screen. Every once in a while it pops in a little better. And now it's pausing because it's switching. Yes. Okay, so I've got a question. What is the focal length of the telescope, and do I use a Barlow? Okay, so yeah, the focal length, it's an f8 12-inch telescope, and the focal length that I've got right now is going to be around 5,800 to 6,000 millimeters. And let's see, let me show the scope again. So that's the scope, and off the back of the telescope, so you can see the cable, the white, not the white, but the bright cable, the bright red cable. It's just reflection of the red light I've got on it. Snaking back there, and behind that, so pointing back at us, is the camera, the focuser, the optical train, and yes, a 2.5x Teleview PowerMate Barlow. And that is magnifying everything that's coming through the telescope by 2.5. So it's an f8, telescope, so multiply that by 2.5 and you'll have what the what I'm shooting is. So I'm at f20 right now. I'm shooting at f20, and yeah, so it's just under 6,000 millimeters. It's very, very long, and it's somewhat required if you want to do high resolution planetary imaging. Having a long focal length on the telescope is very important. So. So it looks like, let's see, we're back to blue again. I was wondering if my focus can be better, because things do shift throughout the night. Things change, so with planetary imaging you can't just set it and forget it. Hello Julian, thanks for joining us. Hope I can give you a decent view of Mars. Sorry it's so shaky in the atmosphere. I'm gonna make it smaller because I think it looks better when it's small. Yeah, that's Mars right now in blue and bouncing around. Yeah, it's one of those nights. I've done a lot of these live streams and so many of them are like this, where everything is just bouncing around. Yeah, I would love to identify the terrain features, but you're gonna have to like point me to a decent Mars globe, because I have not really taken the time to find that. Yeah, see, that's where I need help. Somebody needs to tell me Mars things. Looks like I lost a little bit of focus on this red. I really want to get that one back. You'd be surprised at how well these will stack out though. When I do the final stack images from these videos, they'll actually probably turn out okay. The software does a really good job identifying the sharp parts that are real versus you know, the blurry bits that just bounce around because of the atmosphere. Okay, please, yes, send me a map. Mars globe. Well, I'll have to check that one out. You know, I can do it now. We've got the technology. Why not? Let's see. Let's install an app and do Mars globe now. Nice. Mars globe HD. Let's do it. Okay, cool. It's free. It's got 100,000 downloads. So that's cool. There's 100,000 nerds out there that want to look at Mars. I love it. Okay, cool. I am installing the app now so I can tell you things, maybe, if I do this right. But don't expect greatness, okay? Because I am not a scientist. I am an amateur astronomer, not a professional astronomer. So, let's see, did this, oh, okay, we got the app installed. Okay. Wow, this is pretty cool. Oh man, this is rad. Okay, now, I want to look at, this is the polar cap. Where's, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm looking at here. What's that? What is that? Okay, now I need to see stuff. Oh, this actually doesn't tell me anything. Yeah, it doesn't tell me anything. So this is gone. This just shows me a cool globe I can move around, but it doesn't have any labels, so that's not helpful. Okay, cool. See, I'm supposed to prep for these things, but I don't, because I don't want to. Okay, looks like Davide sent me an app to try also, so I will check that out. I'm gonna make this bigger again, because to make it just give you a little bit different view of the jumpy atmosphere Mars. At least you can see the polar cap though, you know, that's pretty cool. Let's see, what tools do I use for sharpening and post-processing? So sharpening in post-processing. Oh man. I've got an old map. Wow. That's old school. Somebody sent me a screenshot of or rather a photo of a paper map. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to make sense of that some other time. I'm not going to sit here online and do that. Thank you though. The tools I use for sharpening and post-processing now, the free tools that definitely recommend that you use is an old application that is called Registax. So there's the stacking software that I would highly recommend, something called AutoStackert. And there's a link to that on the web page link that's up in the pinned comment. It's pretty much the best stacking that there is out there. It's really, really good. And then as far as sharpening beyond that, so the stacks that you can download that I've pre-stacked for you with AutoStacker on that website, you can use a free application called Registax. And Registax it's just an old Windows app, and it's got something called Wavelets, and those wavelets you use the sliders on the wavelets to sharpen different size features in the image, and so you can take a blurry image and it will find the detail that's actually in those stacks. And I use wavelets for sharpening primarily. So, and there's a lot of noise reduction tools and things like that built into a lot of the applications that I also use. So, oh, maybe it was a different app. This is a problem. Mars Explorer, what's this one? Oh, here we go. This is the one. Okay, found one. This one actually has like labels for me, it looks like. Okay, so I downloaded an app. Sure. Okay, I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, it's downloading map now. Okay, this is an old app. That's okay. I'm checking it out. Yeah, you guys laugh at me. That's fine. But you know, this is what you get. Okay. just you know. Okay, there we go. Hey Alan, how are you? Nice to see you here. Let's see if I can get this blue into focus. Oh, so we're done. We've actually shot 6 iterations of the RGB stuff. So I'm thinking I want to shoot a little bit more because Mars is getting higher and it's going to get a little bit better. So I'm going to move it manually back to red, and then I'm going to start another automatic run. Oh no, Renee! Got rain. No good. So sorry. Well, I'm gathering data that everybody can use, so hopefully that will help take the rain away. Wow. If I can find decent focus on this red, that would be nice. That's a little better. Okay, I'm going to roll with that. And then we're going to do another auto run sequence. I'm going to make it big again because I can. There we go. I think that might be a little too big though, because that's just a little ridiculous. How's that? A little bit better. There we go. Now you can see that size. There we go. So yeah, there's our red again. So I'm just going to keep going through red, green, and blue for a little bit, and then we're going to switch over to infrared. When we switch over to infrared, we'll stay on infrared for a little while and shoot a whole bunch of infrared. Maybe we'll get something out of the deal. So I can only hope. Is that? You can see Olympus Mons up there, that bright spot. It's right there now. Now that we switch away from red, I'm going to do that. I'm going to check this app and see if I can. It's still downloading. Why is it taking so long? There's a pole. Is that the South Pole? Or... oh, because it's south up, isn't it? Oh, I should probably do south up so I can actually see stuff. Oh wow, I've got this cool map. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay, now where is Olympus Mons? Come on. Because I can base everything off what I see here. I know you guys tuned in to see somebody look at apps on their phone. Okay. Is that it? No. Is that it? That's massive. Holy crap. Okay, so there's Olympus Mons. And there's that. Okay, cool. Now I can talk about stuff, and I'm gonna use this app, and it's gonna make me sound super smart. Yeah, apps for the win. So there's our Olympus Mons. Cool. And I can actually see the polar cap. There. Yeah. So that would be there. Wow, this is just getting ugly though. Oh man, the atmosphere is not great. just go into the questions here and like hope that something happens with this focus. Because oh my, look at that, look at that. It's like we're going through water now. This is horrible. Opposition night. I have clear skies and they look like this. May as well have clouds. Yo, that's rough. That is rough. I mean, I could point out features of the planet, but it just looks like a big, horrible thing right now. Not cool at all. It's a bunch of mountains. Okay, yeah, I'm still not. I need somebody who actually knows stuff to tell me things. I'm gonna make this small because this is not cool. At least it looks better when it's small. Wow, it's bad. This is what happens when you get like a humid atmosphere and you get heat currents in different areas, all of that kind of thing. Where are we at? Okay. Renee, do I have a set percent that I go for when stacking, or do I change it depending on what you're seeing is like that session? Definitely depends on seeing, Renee. So when you're stacking videos, what I do is I always have a set of percentages. So for Mars, I will do 40%, 20%, 10%, and 5%. And I'll always stack those four. And I'll never go higher than 40%. But usually for Mars, because I stack, there's so many frames because it's small, I'll capture like 11, 12,000 frames per video, per stack. And so I might use 5, 10% maximum. So I do 40%, 20%, 10%, and 5%. The developer of AutoStackers has said at least once, if not more than once, that basically if you want to see real differences, real changes in your stacks, then you kind of have to go on that 50%, that half rule. So like if you do 40%, there's not a whole lot of difference between 40% and 30%, but there's a good difference between 40% and 20%. So that's why I kind of do halves, 40, 20, 10, 5 for Mars, for everything, for RGB and for infrared. And yeah, and then for Jupiter, I do a little bit different on Jupiter. It's a little strange. I do 50%, I do 35%, and I do 20%, and then I do 10. I almost never use 10% with Jupiter because I shoot a fewer frames. It's not as bright. And then for, yeah, I usually end up using the 20% or 35% on Jupiter, sometimes 50%, very rarely. My seeing conditions here are, as you can see, I deal with a lot of this. They're often not great, so I kind of have to deal with that. Yeah, no. Some folks told me that using 50% is why my images might have been blurry. Possibly, yes. I almost never use 50%, but it really just depends on your skies. If you have really good skies, 50% is fine. For example, when I shoot methane, when I shoot CH4 methane, because it's such a grainy image, I actually stack 90%. That's long exposure, you know, at 100 milliseconds. It's, yeah, and so I stack 90% of those, 70% if it's bad. Oh man, I need more coffee here. And let's see. So yeah, if you're doing Mars, depending on your frame rate and how many frames you've got to stack per video, yeah, I do 5, 10%, maybe 20 if it's really, really good. Yeah, it sounds like, so David says he uses 15 to 20%. You got to find that. Yeah, that's why I always stack all four: 40, 20, 10, 5, and then I pick the one that looks the best, because I don't want to have to go back and restack a million times. I don't have time. I hardly have time to do the stuff that I do already. So I just stack all four and then go through and pick the best, because it really doesn't take that much extra time to stack those those different percentage, definitely. So let's see where else. I like you guys helping each other out in the comments. That's good. That's actually quite fabulous. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna do. Yeah, Sammy's saying that you'd like to see me doing a live stream on my data post processing. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Honestly, I don't shoot a lot of Mars, so I don't post process a lot of Mars, but it's the same kind of way I do Jupiter and everything. The difference with me is I use an application called PixInsight. It's normally best for deep sky astrophotography, like nebulae and galaxies and stars and things. But I've found some features in it that are very similar to Registax, and they actually do quite a bit better job. So I use PixInsight, but the concepts are the same. And it's all kind of about batch processing, and really the less processing you do on a planetary image, the better, because you're really just dependent on getting good data input. You want to get the best data you can through the telescope. Focus, atmosphere, telescope collimation. You get those things right, your images will be so much better than any processing that you'll ever do to them. So it's really huge. The input is massive, and because of the small targets, I mean, these planets are, they're far away. They're small on that chip. They're tiny. So you have to be on that focuser all the time. So yeah. WinJupos is that for derotation. Renee says you want to give WinJupos a try. Yes, it's awesome. You'll be able to do it. I still need to do a live stream tutorial on that. There are other tutorials out there. I just kind of want to gloss through like what I do, and you can see Olympus Mons here in the red pretty decently right here. So this is Olympus Mons, the biggest mountain in the solar system, that brightish spot on Mars there. Pretty cool stuff. Love that, actually. Love seeing that kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah, when WinJupos, what I do, if I know I'm going to be derotating quite a few stacks, I will sharpen them about the same as normal, but I won't use very much noise reduction, because I know WinJupos will go through and it will smooth things out. So WinJupos is definitely going to help you smooth out some of that noise, so you can afford to leave the noise reduction off a little bit, knowing that you're going to be using WinJupos to derotate. So yeah, it sometimes, yeah. So let's see. James, you're saying you stack anything above the 50%. The shortcut is to hit shift left click on the quality graph to set the stacking amount. Yeah, no, that can work also. I just have my very manual ways of doing things, manual and automatic, because I stack everything the same and then pick the best stuff later. I only stack once. I'll go through and I'll stack it, and then I'm uploading it now, so I'll stack it, I'll upload it, and then I'll process it when I get time. I'm not, unless it's a specific event, like say the Mercury transit that happened once or whatever, I'm looking at data daily, and I don't have time to sit there and play with different stacking tweaks in order to try and get just a little tiny bit more out of it on a daily basis. So I've got my ways to go through and just stack. That's why I do 40, 20, 10, and 5 for Mars, and then just pick the best stuff and derotate it and do my best. So yeah, that's good, James. If you're not going to do a ton of if you're not going to do like daily planetary stuff, and you want to get the best out of your data, then that definitely, hitting those little tweaks definitely works. So that's cool. Thanks, James, for mentioning those. I wish I had more time to do that stuff, but I really don't. And I've found what works best in most scenarios, I think, for my process. So That's the thing is planetary imaging, everybody's kind of got their own way of doing certain things. Once you start doing it, Renee, you've just recently started, which is really cool, and you're going to find your own ways to process um, and procedures, because you're working with tons of files, and we're working with lots of different programs to do, you know, different things with our data. So I find it gets tedious very quickly. You end up doing quite a bit of data mining on your own stuff, and it feels like data entry. So the more you can do, at least for me, the more I can do to speed up some of those automated processes, that just feels like, you know, going through the machine. I don't want to have to do the same thing over and over. If I know something works most of the time, then I'm gonna use that thing, and then I'll go back and fix it if I need to later. So yeah, that's my main thing, is I want to cook through this stuff as quick as I can. And you know, you kind of, once you do it enough, you can kind of eyeball stuff and be like, okay, cool, that's a good stack, that's a bad stack, you know, and you can kind of kick through all these files. So like, you'll go through what I've uploaded on that web page that I linked to. You know, you'll have 400, 800, 900 files in there, and making sense of those. I'm quick with it because I've got my procedures, I've got my file names, I sort by file name, and you go in there and it's quick. So yeah, and you go through there, and you can kind of see my process, and I think that's what I really need to do, is a live stream with, you know, my, just kind of showing how I think about it and how I go about doing it. So maybe that will help everyone a little bit. So oh wow, that's awesome. Thanks for saying that, Renee. That's really, really cool. Thank you so much. I'm glad that I've inspired you, and, you know, got you up and going. That's so cool. Let's see. Let's see, where am I now? We're gonna switch to infrared soon. Where's the telescope? Let's look at the telescope again. Okay, we got tons of time left. So the telescope is rotating in a counterclockwise fashion. And if we look at, so I want to make sure that I don't run into anything with the telescope. I should really go check and make sure it's not going to hit the table, because I've got a table out there. And it looks like it's reflecting on said table, so I might have to go move something outside. Oh, that's funny. See, this is why. Yeah, okay. Let's look at the sky. There's the sky again. This is my all sky camera for the people that might not have seen it before. That's in the lower right hand corner, the lower right. And this is the sky live. Every 9 seconds this image updates. And up there in the upper middle, just crossing so south is down, north is up, east is left, west is actually to the right. So things are going to move from the left to right position in the sky. And you'll see Mars there is the bright spot in the upper middle of the screen. And that's where Mars is right now. So basically when it crosses that middle line, the telescope is also going to cross something, and it's called the Meridian. And when it crosses that line, then I have to be careful and watch for certain things. So I actually need to go outside and take a look and see if I need to move my table to make sure that the telescope isn't going to hit it. So yes, you guys go ahead and watch Mars, and I'm going to run outside quick. And while you watch Mars, I'll even make it big so in case it gets really good. And if you look, you might see me in the telescope camera there, and the bottom, or in the middle one, the red telescope. You might see it. You might see me in there. So let's see. Yeah, quick one. Okay, cool. I'll be right back. Okay, well, it was going to hit my table, so I'm glad I went out and fixed that, because that could have been bad news. Okay. Let's see. So, what did you guys talk about while I was gone? Huh? What else did I miss? Okay. You got a burrito. Nice. I'm inspiring people to eat burritos and watch my live streams. Sounds good. Where am I now? Have I ever tried the Topaz Sharpen and Denoise? Yes, I have. I actually used that quite a bit just to try it because I wanted to give it a try. Sorry, I had to move things around there. And I'm going to tell you right now, do not use the Topaz AI denoise and sharpen. Don't use the Topaz AI stuff. The non-AI stuff, go ahead and use it sparingly. Be careful. The thing is with the AI stuff, it's actually, and Damien Peach has actually done some tests on this, and I've noticed it too. And there's a reason I did the trial and I downloaded it and I used it for about a month just to play around and see, and it creates detail that isn't there. So if you want to make fake detail in your planetary images, go ahead and use it. But if you want reality, if you want the real stuff, unfortunately, if you use like the AI heavy denoising that Topaz does, unfortunately the newer version, it tends not to be that great. You just have to be really, really careful. The thing with planetary imaging is you know, what we are seeing is we need to be careful that we're showing reality, and yeah, I definitely do not recommend the newer versions of Topaz. The older versions were great. They did a great job, but the new AI stuff, definitely not. When imaging planets, Renee asks, when imaging planets, do I find I still need to balance the scope east heavy? Yeah, no, it's the same. It's the same with everything. Any kind of imaging, you want to do it a little bit east heavy, just because the motors will be pulling the telescope from the east around to the west, depending on where it is. So that definitely helps. The thing with planets, though, which is nice, is tracking is not as important. It does help a lot if you're tracking. But yeah, it definitely does help. I don't change it because I don't go out and change when I do a Meridian Flip. I don't change it because yeah, I'm not doing long exposure. These are short. The planet's going to move around a little bit. I adjust it manually, so I don't mind. So you know what? Yes, it'll help, but don't worry about doing the east heavy stuff with planetary. Just don't worry about it. I mean, you can do a Dob, really. You can use a Dobsonian telescope and do really, really good planetary imaging. So a lot of the things you have to worry about when you do deep sky, you don't have to worry about with planetary, but there's a lot of things with planetary that you have to worry about that you don't have to worry about with deep sky. So it kind of goes around. Let's see. What else? I love it. You guys are telling me what you're eating. This is fabulous. Mark, and I think you're in Cincinnati. You say you just had tacos delivered. Somebody send me some tacos, man. Actually, you're not going to get tacos here. There's like one place that does that, and they're closed because it's almost midnight. So so it's almost midnight. That means in about a little over 1 hour is the actual time of Mars opposition. So from what I read on the internet, if I believe everything I see on the internet, Mars opposition is October 13th at 2300 UT. So that means in a little over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes, is that point in time when Mars is directly opposite the sun relative to us on Earth. So pretty cool stuff. Okay, James, don't quote me on saying that the AI stuff does fake stuff, because there's a lot of good algorithms with the AI sharpening and denoise things. The problem we run into is when we use those AI tools, we tend to push it, because man, you push that slider way far to the right and everything gets super sharp and super smooth all at once, which is awesome. And it's like, you know, that's what we want. That's what we want with planetary imaging. The problem is some of that stuff, it's just not there. The AI is doing a good job to a point, and then after that, it's creating some stuff that it's just not in the data, unfortunately. So the best way to get your best images is to get the best input that you can. So unfortunately, that means a lot of work. That means you have to focus, and you have to really, really look at how things are working. You have to learn how to collimate your telescope and collimate it. If anything seems off, if you move that telescope, you collimate it. Basically how it works. You have to at least check the collimation. You have to shoot often. I mean, I'm shooting almost every night, every other night, whenever it's clear. I shoot all the time. And I'm just basically hoping and waiting to get, you know, one of those good nights of seeing where the atmosphere is nice and stable, and it does not happen very often. So your best nights are going to be the best times when the atmosphere is stable, and then hope that you've got your focus dialed and your collimation dialed on those good nights, and that's how you get good images. You can take you can take mediocre data and you can derotate a lot of it and make it really smooth, so you can then sharpen the hell out of it and get a lot of those little details that might be good in one stack but not good in another, and it will use those, and that's good and that's fine. But that's difficult to do and a lot of work, and a lot of times it's just not worth it. So, you know, making sure your techniques are good, your focusing is good, all of that is the best thing you can do for this getting good planetary going. Yeah, so where are we now? Kevin, how are you, Kevin? I haven't seen you for a while. Actually, I saw you on the last time we did Mars, didn't I? Yeah, that's cool. Happy opposition. Yes, indeed, happy opposition. Happy opposition in like an hour, a little over an hour now. I should have like one of those like New Year's Eve ball drop things, right? Cheers, Mark. Go eat your tacos. Yeah, James. I noticed the colors change. That happens when you sharpen. Colors are going to change just because not huge, but on the edges and stuff. That's going to happen. Wow, we captured a lot of RGB. So I'm gonna make this a little smaller, and we're gonna now switch to, yes, let's use the AI software. Bring tacos to me. I want tacos. Somebody send me some friggin' tacos. Let's see. So if we go over here, yeah. We're going to switch over to infrared. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to red, and then I have to close this because this will automatically switch me over to red when it's back. Let's see, where are we with this? Oh, I got a message I need to respond to here. Okay, so that message is responded to. Okay. Let me see. We're on red now, so we're going to switch over to infrared. So near, it's going to be actually near infrared. So what we're going to look at is 742 nanometers and longer wavelength. Usually this looks, oh hey, you can see Olympus Mons. Oh, it's probably too small for you. Maybe you can. That brighter spot right there where the cursor is. Olympus Mons. Cool. That's like the only thing I know, so I'm always going to point that out. That and the polar cap. That's it. Okay, where are we now? I was going to switch to infrared. Yeah. So that is, you can go over here in my filter list. Pretty cool. Go to infrared and see how we're looking in infrared, and then capture a bunch of that as well. And go back to chatting with my friends. That focus doesn't look nice. It means we're gonna have to play with the focus a bit. Oh, come on. Oh yeah. It's getting better. Fabulous. Infrared, so if you're going to shoot infrared, this is infrared pass. So this is what we're seeing now is actually invisible. This is invisible, and I am focusing on Mars in infrared now. 742 nanometers and above to whatever the camera can capture, which from what I remember, the ASI 290, when I looked it up, I think it can go up to just under 1,000 nanometers. So it'll be like 742 to up to about 1,000. And then it's got a graph showing the response of the sensor. And the closer you get to 1,000, the closer that response gets to 0, and that's about as probably damn good as we're gonna get here. Okay, so I'll switch off this and go back to that. Maybe we'll get some nice stuff. Where's the telescope? Okay, cool, we're safe there. I moved the table plenty, so that's good. There's Mars still. So if you look at the telescope now, it's pretty much horizontal, that bar, where the weight is on the right and the telescope is on the left. It's pretty much horizontal, meaning Mars is about as high as it's going to get right now, which makes sense because it's midnight on opposition, and that's when it will cross the meridian. So it makes perfect sense, but we can image past the meridian plenty. If you can see that, we're not close to hitting anything on the telescope camera. Normally you have to watch to make sure that that camera doesn't hit the tripod. Yeah, I had focus dialed in, but now it like got crappy. So I don't know if it was focus or if it's the seeing. So it's probably the seeing. Things just got rough. So we're just gonna shoot. You know, just going to do a bunch of shooting here and hope that things get better. Ugh, what a night. Okay, I'm going to do 10. So I'm using this auto run sequence where it's going to go through and shoot automatically. I'm going to shoot 10 runs of IR at 90 seconds each, with a 5-second delay in between. So there we go. Where are we? Well, you guys are talking about looking with your eyeballs. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely. Okay, you guys are talking about filters, visual filters via versus photographic filters. The RGB filters for visual use are different than the RGB filters for photographic use. Definitely different. So if you want good results from astrophotography, do not use visual color filters. You have to get the actual filters made for photography. I don't know why that is. I haven't honestly looked. You can tell by looking at the filters. You can definitely tell the visual RGB filters are very, very different than the photographic ones. But from like an actual, glass characteristic and what they let through versus everything else, I didn't look into that, so I can't answer that question. That wasn't a question, but I can't answer what that was. Where am I now? I really want to be able to find focus with this, and it's just not behaving. The atmosphere is not being nice. It is opposition, and people want to see Mars because they have rain in their skies and clouds in their skies, and I've got clear skies and these crappy wobbly stuff. I mean, at least you can see there's a planet there, I suppose. I'm focusing constantly. I'm trying to find that sweet spot in the middle of all the crap. And this is why you use a 5% stack. Because 5% of the time, things look sort of okay. And so you stack those. We might have that. We'll see. Let's make it big and see what this looks like. Okay. Where's the big one? There it is. Haha! There it is. At least you can see, Olympus Mons kind of. That's going to be my, check Olympus Mons! How cool is that? I thought it was cool to like actually capture Olympus Mons the first time, and then I keep doing it. Uh-oh, there we go. Oh, come on, focus. Every once in a while you get like this nice view. Oh well. Perfectly clear skies is just that big yellow dumb star washing everything out, huh? You can shoot planets in the daytime. It's just hard to find them. That's all. When they're visible, but obviously Mars is at opposition, so you're definitely not gonna be able to shoot Mars in the daytime. Yeah. I think it's more than that, David. About the color. The color is actually a little bit different as well. It's not just IR and UV, but I think there's more to it than that. But yeah, this is rough. I'm trying to get this focus dialed. I'm really trying. The atmosphere is making this hard. This is a tough live stream. Yeah. Where am I here? Wonder if we have, no question on there. What is going on? Okay. You guys are having a nice conversation in the chat there while I work, trying to get a decent view for you. I'm working hard here. Yeah, I suppose. Hopefully it pops back. I'm trying. The big yellow thing works in space too. Not really. I mean, kind of, but not really. It's more like more like the moon. You know, the light from the big yellow thing is reflecting off the moon's surface, which is bright, you know, way brighter than the stars. So it's not that the sun was in the camera view, it's just that it was so reflective, you know. Okay. Got another question. Where are we? 5 of these infrared captures in. I'm going to do 5 more. How can I point my telescope with a high focal length fast and accurately? Well, basically, I mean, the biggest thing is getting your finder scope aligned. So if you go, let's see, I will show this view on my full screen. There. Okay, so down here in the lower right corner, Sammy, down there that's my targeting scope. So I've got a little tiny telescope with a little tiny camera on that's constantly running, and that is Mars right in the middle, and I've got it pretty close to the center as far as where the main imaging telescope versus the targeting scope is. And so I've got these pretty much aligned. So the camera on the big telescope, which is this main view, and the camera on the targeting scope, which is this is very wide, so I can get it relatively close as long as this finder scope, this guide scope, is aligned to the center of the main imaging scope. If I get this really close, I can move it around in this center area until it shows up here. So that's how I find that planet in a long focal length scope, because I don't take the camera off. I leave the camera on all the time and make sure that my finder target scope, whatever you want to call it, it's actually a finder, it's a guide cam and guide scope, and I'm just not guiding, I'm just using this as literally as a crosshair, as a targeting scope. And it works great because this is good enough that I can get the telescope to point at the planet, and then it shows up here, and then I can just center it, and then it works. So that's how I point telescope. And we'll go back to our fancy view here. What is my opinion of a hyperstar? They're fabulous if you want to use them for hyperstar things. Yeah, like they're hard to use and stuff. So like if you want to use a hyperstar, don't think you're going to be taking off and putting it on like every day and like, oh, I wonder what this will look like in the hyperstar and giving it a try. No, what you're going to be doing is you're going to get the hyperstar and you're going to use it for a specific project. You know, you can run that thing down to a super fast speed. It turns your SCT into a wider, fast scope, which is great. But the thing that you run into is you can't, take it off and change it. So it basically, it's when you have it on, it's going to be on. And your scope is going to be a hyperstar using scope. It's not going to, be something you can just swap out easily and quickly. That's just not going to happen. But other than that, they're awesome because I mean, getting the, you know, if you can buy that one thing and essentially have two telescopes, it's kind of a way to have, you know, two telescopes for the price of one. And it's, you know, if you look at like the Celestron Raza scopes, those are basically, it's a telescope with a hyperstar built in. They don't even have a place to put in an eyepiece. You cannot, you visually cannot look through them. And that's basically what a hyperstar is. So, no, they're cool. They're rad. But yeah, like I don't have an SCT, so I can't personally use one. If anybody wants to send a 14-inch SCT my way, I will definitely accept it because I want to kind of up my planetary game, and that would help a lot. But then I'd run into dew problems, and I don't want to do. So yeah, that's my opinion of a hyperstar. I need to check something. I'll be right back. Speaking of dew, and look, we've got it. Actually, this is seeing seems to be quite a bit better now, at least better than it was. You know, we got a decent view of Mars here. We're on just finishing up number 8 of 10. I'm gonna probably do like another 10 of these. May as well. I'm not gonna stop imaging, or I could switch over to RGB again. Let's look at what the telescope looks like. Yeah, plenty of time. Lots of time left. Lots of time. Did I switch this back? I wonder how long we'll be able to do this before we have to actually flip the Meridian. So yeah, here's our Mars. Just kind of keep this going. Got 43 gigabytes of hard drive space left. We may as well shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and see if we can get something good. This was supposed to be a good night of imaging. It was forecasted to be good, but as most weather forecasts go, seems as if that was not the case. I know actually how I can quickly clear up about 20 gigabytes of hard drive space, which will be helpful later. One funny thing I see on social media, I'm just looking at my statistics. This application captures the imaging statistics for the evening. I've captured 2 hours and 14 minutes of footage tonight. I've captured 101.3 gigabytes of data, an average frames per second of 91 frames per second on average, and I've captured 742,000 frames of video tonight so far. I shot Jupiter before this, so that is included in that. But something on social media that I've seen that's pretty funny is some of the people, and I've done it before in the past, and I regret it, but it's like a marketing move. You go on there, and I could say like, oh, I made this Mars image with 742,000 images to make this Mars image. It's like, no, you shot video. It's a lot different. So it's all about, it's the truth. It's true that each video frame is an image, but it's, you know, the way you portray that is a little dodgy to me. I've done it before, and I wish I hadn't, because it's just like it makes you sound cooler when, you know, it's just like a normal thing. So it's interesting. Oh, we're at 753,000. It'd be pretty cool if we hit like 1 million frames. I might run out of hard drive space before then, but that would be sweet. That would be rad. Where are we? Oh, Sammy asks, how fast is the ZWO ASI 290? That's what I've got, is the 290 mm. It's fast. It's awesome. It uses USB 3, so it's pretty quick. Oh, I need to capture some more of this infrared while I'm here. It'll capture at full frame. It can capture up to 180 frames per second, but that is always limited by your exposure time. For example, right now I'm at 8 millisecond exposure. It looks like, let's see, looks like we've seen this, but up here in the corner, which I suppose you can't see because it's too small, I'm running 8 millisecond exposure with 266 gain currently. I can actually show you that. That will maybe help. So here's my current settings. I hope you can read those. So I've got this camera, the ASI 290 mm. For infrared on Mars, I'm running 8 millisecond exposure time, gain of 266. So that is here, 266 gain, 8 milliseconds. Okay. And yeah, that's basically it. And so if you take that 8 millisecond time and you, oops, and you figure out how many, you know, you can do those in one second, or sorry, in 1 second, then that'll tell you your maximum frames per second for that particular exposure time. And that's where the limit comes in for that. But yeah, I can do up to 180 frames per second, which is super nice. But it's not about FPS. People talk to me a lot about planetary imaging, and they ask me, you know, what frames per second should I shoot? And that's the wrong question to ask. The question that you need to ask is, what exposure and gain does my camera work nicely at in order to get the fastest FPS that you can? So the point is, you want to get the fastest FPS, yes, but if you get a bunch of crappy frames because you cranked the gain all the way up on your camera and crank the exposure time all the way down, you're going to get a bunch of garbage because they're going to be so noisy. And you know, if you stack a whole ton of noisy frames, yeah, it's going to get cleaner, but there's a point that a whole lot of garbage is still going to have garbage on the other side. So you still want some clean frames, and so that's why I've kind of got my my stuff set up that I know where it works nicely and with the camera and that kind of thing. It's always temperature dependent too. You can get cooled cams for Planetary, which is nice. They just cost more. So, you know, there's so many things to spend money on that get you a little bit more, a little bit better. But it's, you know, is it worth it to you? So. Do I use a Barlow or the Eyepiece projection method? Wait, I'm sorry, Renee. I see your question, but I'm not sure what it's regarding. LP Norman stuck with the next image, no sweet spot. Yeah, but it works. You can get good images with the next image. It does work. I've seen some decent images. You just have to You know, use it to the best of its ability. The best gear in the world is the stuff you use the most. I've said that many times, and I'll say it till I die because it's the truth. And it's possible that I've now reached the point where I have to do a Meridian Flip. I think the telescope might be forcing me to do it. It's gonna, yep, I'm gonna have to. Oh, bummer. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna cancel this. So this will be fun. This will be fun now. I gotta cancel. Oops, no, I pushed the wrong button. Crap. Okay, so close this. Now we have to do Meridian Flip. We're gonna do it without. We're gonna do it this way. Yeah, this will be exciting stuff. Let's watch the telescope. How about that? That'll be cool. Turn off this auto center. Turn this off. Okay. Excuse me. Watch the telescope while I do this. Okay. Now, oops. Let's go this way. Let's see, 7. Nope. Gotta go this way. Or did it decided to, my mount decided to stop listening to me. That's all that happened. Oh, that stinks. Okay, well, now we gotta do this the hard way. Okay, I have to go set this up again. Or I can just be done because, yeah. Seeing is bad enough. I'm not even going to bother with a Meridian Flip. So you know what? I'm going to call it for the night. I'm going to say this is good enough, and the CPWI software decided to crash, and I can't move the scope anymore. So I'm going to leave everything here the way it is now. I'm going to say thanks everybody for joining in, and I hope you got some nice views of Mars. You can always go back and rewatch if you want to. So thank you very, very much for watching. And I'll be back with more live streams as things go. We probably need to do like a proper Saturn one before it's dead. But yeah, Saturn is already kind of done for the year. So anyway, thanks a lot everybody for joining, and have a good day, night, morning, whatever it is for you, and see you next time. So cheers.